Assalamu alaikum friends, welcome to another video of question answer with Dr. Zakir Naik, where a brother asked question about the bleeding woman menstruation. So is it will be keep fast or not? Watch the video, and after the video we will discuss the video.
Next question, from the point of view of a woman who is undergoing menstruation, postnatal bleeding, is it prohibited or optional for them to fast? To start.
As far as the women who are undergoing the menstrual cycles or postnatal bleeding, according to our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it's mentioned in Sahih Bukhari, also in Sahih Muslim, that it is forbidden for a woman to fast who is bleeding due to menstrual cycle or postnatal bleeding. So it is not optional, it is forbidden. And the reason is because when the blood flows out in a lady, in a woman, she loses a lot of blood. And on top of that, if she fasts, it will not be good for her health. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is His mercy that He has exempted them and made it compulsory not to fast. Otherwise, it may be damaging for the health. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to overburden any of the human beings. So that's the reason they are exempted from fasting. And even in the middle of the day, if the menstruation begins, they have to break their fast. Even if it begins a few minutes before sunset, they have to break their fast. But they have to compensate later on. But if they're undergoing the menstrual period, and if the period stops just before Fajr, even if they did not have a bath, they can start their fast. But if it ends even a few minutes after Fajr, they cannot fast. They have to break their fast, and they have to compensate later on.
Okay. The next query really is regarding a woman who is pregnant or is nursing, breastfeeding, nursing, rearing the children. Why are they exempted?
According to the verse of the Quran in Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 185, that if a person is ill and traveling, he can make up his prescribed periods of day of fasting later on. So most of the fuqahas, most of the scholars, they say that these women who are pregnant and breastfeeding, they come under the category of those who are ill. So therefore, if they want, they can abstain from fasting. But there are clear-cut Sahih hadith in which the Prophet has exempted these women from fasting. Mentioned in Sunan ibn Majah, hadith number 1667, that our beloved Prophet says, the obligation for a person to fast and part of the prayer has been lifted from a traveler. And the obligation for fasting has been lifted from a lady who's pregnant and who's breastfeeding. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad also said, it's mentioned in Sunan Nisai, in the book of fasting, hadith number 2274, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has relieved the traveler from fasting and half his prayer, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has relieved the pregnant woman and the woman who's breastfeeding from fasting. So based on these two hadith also, it's clear-cut that the pregnant woman and the women who are breastfeeding, they have been exempted. And the logical reason that one can think is because when a lady, she's pregnant or she's breastfeeding, the food she eats is not only for herself, it's for herself as well as the baby she's carrying. Or become difficult for a baby, then she's exempted from fasting. But if she's in the early stage of pregnancy, and if she feels, or she's breastfeeding, and if she feels that fasting will not cause any damage to her health and will not cause a damage to the baby, then she should fast. If she has a doubt, if she can do it with hardship, as long as there's no damage to herself, to her health, and the baby, she has the option to fast, not to fast. But if it's causing damage to her health or the baby, it becomes haram for her to fast. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to lay a burden more than what a person can bear. And in this regard, that is the reason Allah has exempted them. Later on, when they're healthy, when they stop breastfeeding, or when the pregnancy ends after postnatal bleeding, then they have to make up for the fast they have missed before the next Ramadan.
Regarding a person who is a bit incapacitated due to illness, headache or stomachache, they also exempted from fasting?
The people who are ill, they are exempted. Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 185, that if a person is ill and traveling, he can make up his prescribed periods of day of fasting later on. But that does not mean if a person is suffering from a headache or a stomach ache or a cough, he should not fast. If a person can fast, if he's sick, it becomes compulsory for him to fast. The only time he's exempted is if fasting becomes difficult due to his illness, or if he fasts, his illness would be increased, or his health would deteriorate, or it's compulsory for him to take some medicine due to his illness, then it becomes prohibited. Otherwise, for small issues or for small reasons like cough, like cold, like headache, like stomach ache, fasting is compulsory. And the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has exempted those people who are ill, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not want to put a burden. Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Baqarah, chapter number 2, verse number 195, that do not make your own hands the cause of your own destruction. If I'm ill, and if I know that fasting is going to cause a loss for me, will deteriorate my health, it's like killing myself. So Allah said it's prohibited. So if I know fasting will deteriorate my health, then it becomes prohibited. Similarly, Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 29, that kill not yourselves, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful. So causing a loss or a damage to your own health yourself is prohibited in Islam. So this exemption is mainly for those people for whom it is difficult or it will deteriorate the health, not for small ailments.
Welcome back, friends. The brother asked very interesting question that when a woman is bleeding in the holy month of Ramadan, like for example, if the women are in his period, so is it prohibited or it is optional? So the answer is it's not optional, it's prohibited, because whenever a woman passes through his periods, so it means that the dirt, the waste of his body come out through his vagina. And it's also revealed on the Holy Quran that وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْمَحِيزِ قُلْ هُوَ أَذَنٌ. Azan means that it's a disease. So in the periods of women, you are not allowed to make sexual relation with your wife, or you are not allowed to meet him from any kind of way which has been proceed to sexual improvement. So when the women are in his period, so it's obligatory, it's prohibited for him that they should keep fast. It's not optional. Whenever she become clean, and whenever she passes through his periods, his period become finished, so after that she will keep the fast of Ramadan in the next month or 2 months, or whenever she become ready, so at that time she will keep the fast of Ramadan. I hope you understand the video. If you like the video, subscribe the channel and share it with your friends.